Well, I will. What I'll do is I'll ask Beeny a question that we get, at
Yes.
the shop frequently. So,
Love it.
and then he can answer it.
And then you go back and forth a little bit, and if you don't think you quite got it right,
Oh, he'll get it right.
you'll add a little bit.
He'll get
Oh,
it.
okay.
So, what is the appropriate age to start a child in karting?
Yeah, that's a very common question. And I can't say that there's a right age, and every parent knows their child in greater depth than I would know their child. But oftentimes we see kids coming into the shop 4 years old, 3.5 years old, 5 years old. And in my mind, they're clearly not ready. But mom or dad or family is really pushing it.
Usually dad.
Usually dad, yeah. And it's a tough one because at that age, if the kids have a bad experience early on, which is likely to happen at that age.
Sure.
There's so much going on when these kids start driving a kid kart. They're completely in a new environment. If the weather is crummy, if they forget to take their foot off the throttle or, whatever and spook themselves, that could permanently set them back and they may never want to come out again. And so I'm really, really big on not pushing the kids too young. And even to a certain point, I think some of our 8-year-olds that jump in cadet karts are still a bit on the young side. We always hear these stories of, this F1 driver, that F1 driver started when they were 5 years old, and that's why they were able to be so successful. And I don't feel that way as deeply as a lot of people do. And so, although there's not a right answer.
Did you get a fly?
There's a fly.
Is there a fly?
It's all right, though.
Don't.
I thought he was huffing my response here.
There's one fly.
There's no right answer to it, but I think the parents really have to take a hard look at if this is something that they want to do for potentially long term, and if that is the case, then starting too early can potentially be a problem.
Right.
In addition to that, once you do have that kid kart, if you do get your 5, 6, or 7-year-old, or even your 8-year-old in a go-kart, the absolute safest place for that child to drive that kart is at the racetrack. The racetrack has all of the safety parameters built into place.
Is that something, do you see people and they're like, we're just going to go to a parking lot at the mall. It's Sunday afternoon.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Really, like drive it around.
Yeah. And we had, and the reason why I feel so strongly about this is back in 2003, we had a shop that had a really large parking lot. A customer had brought his 6-year-old in saying that the cart wasn't running correctly. And so I ran it on the stand, and I couldn't tell that anything was wrong with the cart. It was a 2-stroke Comer 50 motor, and he says, well, let's have him drive it. And I'm like, I was apprehensive at the time, and I said, okay, let's do it. And his vehicle, his pickup truck and trailer was parked in the middle of the parking lot, and it was a large parking lot, and the kids started driving around in circles, and I couldn't tell that anything was wrong with the cart, but something spooked the kid, and he wouldn't take his foot off the throttle, and he wouldn't put his foot on the brake. And he just kept going around in circles, going faster and faster and faster, and probably doing 25 miles an hour in this parking lot.
Jeez.
And his turning radius kept getting smaller and smaller to the point where I was worried that he was going to drive underneath the pickup truck, which would be tragic. And so
did he get his foot off the throttle?
Eventually, after multiple attempts of me trying to grab the spark plug wire.
Oh, okay. Smart on you. Yes.
I jumped on the cart as it went by.
Beeny wrangled that thing.
and it dragged me through the parking lot for about 50 to 75 feet.
Yeah.
And and I had road rash all over me. The entire time I'm thinking, this kid's not going to make it.
Yeah.
If he goes underneath this truck, he's not going to make it. And so
Look at you, Beeny, caring about the kids.
This is a very, very touchy subject with me.
It's very good. No, no joke about it. And excuse me, you really are concerned about it. And I've spoken to you, even when we put people out on the track, young kids out on the track, you're very cognizant of the setup at the moment, who's out there, who's going out, what's happening, how are they making it through, and because it is the most important development. I was able enough to start on some crazy stuff at a very young age, and luckily I had the right guidance and I was able to be eased into it.
Right.
When you scare yourself, you know, I still have trouble getting out of bed in the morning because I scare myself.
But I mean, to round it all up, 5, 6, and 7-year-olds, in my opinion, too young.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give maybe a little counterpoint, because I think there for sure are 5-year-olds that are they have whatever, you
Sure.
know, that they have that thing and they're ready to go do it, you know.
I think
Put the hammer down. And then there are 8-year-olds that clearly are not. Like, it really is up to the parent to
Right.
know their own child and go, okay, my kid, you know, is sort of a,
and I'll add on to that too, that it's kind of where the parent is, because
Yeah.
if the parent is positioned properly, like if you have a parent that doesn't quite understand how it's going to go, then that can possibly derail it and not be the right thing. So super cautious, a little bit extra age. You're not losing out on performance in the future by a child's development if you sit out a season or two
I agree.
and then get into it. Okay, great.
I agree.
There you go. That's for the kids. When to start.